For thousands of years, the galaxy feared only one name: the Vrathkai. They were not a normal species. They did not build cities or trade goods. They did not speak about peace or borders. They traveled from system to system like a storm. Wherever they went, life ended. The Vrathkai were huge creatures born on a high-gravity death world. Their bodies were covered in thick black armor, harder than steel. Their claws could cut through starship hulls. Their teeth could crush bone and metal alike. They did not use many machines because they did not need them. Their own bodies were weapons. But their most terrifying ability was adaptation. If a weapon hurt them once, it would not hurt them again. If poison slowed them, the next generation would be immune. If a planet tried to fight back, the Vrathkai would learn its weakness and return stronger. They hunted in packs, guided by powerful brood minds that connected them like one giant brain. They did not feel fear the way other species did. They only felt hunger. Whole empires had fallen to them. Some tried to negotiate. Some tried to hide. Some tried to fight. All of them were devoured. So when Vrathkai scouts entered the Sol system, the Galactic Council did not panic. They simply marked Earth as lost. Extinction within 5 cycles, the report said. Humans were new to the galactic stage. They were small compared to most species. Their skin was soft. Their teeth were dull. They had no claws, no natural armor, no genetic memory of space war. They were clever, yes, but clever prey still died. The Vrathkai did not attack Earth first. They landed on Mars. Mars had human colonies, domes filled with scientists, engineers, families. The red planet was not heavily defended. The Vrathkai ships entered orbit without resistance. Organic drop pods fell through the thin atmosphere and crashed into the sand. From them came the hunters. Tall, four-armed, bladed limbs shining under the weak sunlight. The first colony sent a distress signal. Then another. Then silence. Vrathkai packs moved through metal corridors with brutal speed. Bullets bounced off their armor. Energy rifles burned small holes that closed within seconds. Human defenses failed again and again. The Galactic Council watched from distant probes. They had seen this before. It would be over soon. But something strange happened. The third colony did not fall quickly. The humans there sealed sections of the base and vented entire hallways into the cold vacuum of Mars. They collapsed tunnels on top of the creatures. They used mining lasers at close range. They lured Vrathkai into reactor rooms and triggered overloads. The colony was destroyed, but so were the hunters. The Vrathkai had lost an entire pack. That had never happened against a new species. More hunters were sent. On Earth, humans did not wait. News of Mars spread fast. Governments argued for only a few hours before they agreed on one thing: survival first. Weapons factories ran day and night. Old warships were pulled from storage and upgraded. Scientists were given full access to military systems. Civilian engineers were called into secret programs. Humanity moved with a speed that surprised even itself. When the Vrathkai finally descended toward Earth, they expected chaos. Instead, they were met by a wall of fire. Human ships did not fight like other species. They did not hold formation for honor. They did not retreat when losses grew high. They rammed damaged cruisers into enemy vessels. They detonated nuclear mines at close range. Pilots stayed in battle even when escape was possible. It was messy. It was costly. It was desperate. But it slowed the predators. On the ground, special human units studied captured armor fragments. They tested new ammunition again and again. Most failed. Then, one worked. A high-speed kinetic round, redesigned by a small team of engineers, struck a Vrathkai hunter at the joint of its upper limb. The impact caused a vibration through the armor.
The plate cracked. The next shot went through.
For the first time in Sol's skies, a full-grown Vrathkai warrior fell to human hands. The broodmind felt it. Across the battlefield, the Vrathkai paused. They had sensed prey fighting before. They had sensed prey struggling. But this felt different. This prey was learning. And somewhere above Earth, As another hunter dropped lifeless from the sky, the ancient predators began to understand something they had never considered before. This world would not be easy. And humanity was not done. The death of one Vrathkai warrior did not stop the invasion. It only made the predators serious. The brood minds studied every second of the battle above Earth. They watched how the human ships moved. They measured the force of the new kinetic rounds. They analyzed the vibration that cracked their armor. Within days, new Vrathkai hunters were born. Their armor was thicker at the joints. Their muscles were denser. Their reflexes were faster. They descended again, this time ready. The second battle for Earth was worse. Human ships exploded in orbit. Cities near landing zones were destroyed. Entire military bases were torn apart by claw and plasma fire. The Vrathkai moved with terrifying speed, cutting through tanks and aircraft like paper. For a moment, it seemed the first victory had meant nothing. But humans were not standing still. In underground labs and hidden research stations, scientists worked without sleep. Engineers tested hundreds of designs. Most failed. Some killed their own test crews. Still, they continued. Humanity had one advantage the Vrathkai did not understand. They did not need generations to change. They could change in weeks. A new weapon entered the battlefield. Instead of trying to break the armor with force, it attacked with sound. Special artillery fired rounds that released high-frequency shockwaves on impact. The vibration did not just crack the armor, it shook the creature inside it. Vrathkai hunters began to fall again. The brood minds adapted. They changed the inner structure of their warriors to absorb vibration. They shifted tactics. Instead of large packs, they sent smaller, faster strike groups to target human factories and power grids.
They learned quickly, but humans learned faster.
Artificial intelligence systems were connected to satellites and drones. These systems studied Vrathkai movement patterns. They predicted attack routes before the creatures arrived. Missiles were waiting when the hunters came out of the sky. On the ground, human soldiers changed their strategy. They stopped fighting in open spaces. They pulled the Vrathkai into cities filled with narrow streets and heavy buildings. They used the environment as a weapon. Skyscrapers were rigged with explosives. Bridges were turned into traps. Entire districts were evacuated, then collapsed when the predators entered. It was brutal. It was costly. But it worked. For the first time in their long history, the Vrathkai were losing more warriors than they were gaining. The Galactic Council watched in shock. This was not how prey behaved. Prey ran. Prey hid. Humans hunted back. Human fleets began striking Vrathkai ships before they could fully enter orbit. Special boarding teams launched from small stealth craft. They did not try to capture the ships. They planted nuclear charges inside them. One by one, living Vrathkai vessels exploded in the dark of space. The brood minds felt something new. Confusion. Then something worse. Uncertainty. They had always been the final step of evolution. Every species they met had eventually broken. Fear always won in the end, but humanity did not break. Even when cities burned, humans kept fighting. Even when leaders died, others replaced them within hours. Even when defeat seemed certain, they refused to stop. Worse still, humans began capturing Vrathkai bodies. Instead of destroying them, they took them to secret labs. They studied the chitin armor. They studied the muscle fibers. They studied the neural links that connected the packs. They were not just defending anymore. They were preparing. A turning point came during the Battle of Luna. A massive Vrathkai brood ship moved to claim Earth's moon as a forward base. If it succeeded, the war would end quickly. Human command made a dangerous choice. They sent everything. Old ships, new ships, civilian transports fitted with weapons, mining vessels carrying explosive cargo. It was not a perfect fleet. It was a desperate one. The battle lasted 12 hours. When human ammunition ran low, they changed tactics. Several damaged cruisers accelerated directly at the brood ship. They did not turn away. They rammed it. At point-blank range, they detonated their reactors. The explosion shattered the brood ship. Fragments burned in Earth's atmosphere like falling stars. The moon was safe, but the cost was terrible. As the surviving Vrathkai retreated beyond Mars, the brood minds connected across the void and shared a single realization. Humanity was not acting like prey. It was acting like a rival predator, and rivals did not stop until one side was dead. For the first time since they left their home world, the Vrathkai began to consider something they had never needed before: retreat. The Vrathkai were not used to defeat. They had faced countless species, countless worlds, and countless battles over millions of years. Every enemy eventually broke. Every hunter became the hunted and fell. Every planet eventually surrendered. But humanity was different. They adapted, they evolved. They fought with chaos and intelligence at the same time. Every failed attack taught them something new. Every loss made them stronger. The Vrathkai brood minds began to panic. Not panic like small creatures feel, but a strategic panic. They realized that they could not win by force alone. Their old tactics were useless against humans. Their own evolution, the thing that had always guaranteed victory, was being matched. The Galactic Council observed in fear. Humanity was no longer prey. Humanity was a species that learned, adapted, and hunted back. They were becoming the apex predator the galaxy had feared for millennia. The humans did not just fight for Earth. They went on the offensive. Fleet after fleet of Vrathkai was tracked, intercepted, and destroyed. They were lured into trap after trap. Some fleets never reached their destination, blown apart in asteroid belts wired with explosives. Others were met with human drones that studied the predator's every movement before striking with surgical precision. Even the Vrathkai breeding worlds were no longer safe. Humans sent specialized teams to infiltrate planets where the brood minds tried to hide. Nuclear detonations buried the Vrathkai eggs deep underground. Special nanomachines, designed to prevent regeneration, infected surviving organisms. Entire ecosystems were sterilized to prevent future hunts. The Vrathkai learned fear for the first time, but the humans were not satisfied with just survival. They wanted total victory. Military leaders argued endlessly. Some wanted to stop, fearing the consequences of complete eradication. Others were clear. If even one survives, it will return, and it will be stronger. We end this now, or we never end it. Plans were made in secrecy, planet by planet, world by world. Humans executed the extinction protocol. The Vrathkai were lured into controlled zones. Human forces hit them with everything at once: orbital bombardment, nanophage swarms, energy weapons designed to melt armor, and chemical agents that prevented regeneration. The predators screamed in ways no human ear had ever heard, and still they fought. But every battle brought fewer survivors. The brood minds tried one last strategy. They attempted communication. Transmission signals were sent across the void. Pleas, warnings, even offers of peace. The Vrathkai had never negotiated with prey before. The humans listened. They understood. And they ignored them. No mercy was shown. No quarter was given. Humans had learned the greatest lesson of all. Predators cannot be negotiated with when survival is at stake. The Vrathkai might have been magnificent, terrifying, unstoppable, but they had underestimated humanity's determination. In the end, the last brood mind was cornered on a remote planet near the edge of the Sol system. The humans had tracked it for months, following every move. When the final attack came, there was no escape. Orbital bombardment shattered the planet's surface, and specialized strike teams destroyed the remaining hunters. For the first time in the galaxy's history, the Vrathkai were extinct. Humans did not celebrate openly. The cost had been high. Cities were destroyed, millions of lives lost, and the memory of every battlefield haunted those who survived. But humanity had achieved something no other species had before. They had faced the ultimate predator, and they had won. The Galactic Council was silent for days. They realized something terrifying. Humanity had proven they could not only survive against the strongest, fastest, most intelligent predators, but they could also eradicate them completely. Humanity was no longer prey. Humanity had become the apex. And somewhere in the human command centers, generals and scientists studied the remnants of the Vrathkai, their armor, their neural structures, their reproductive cycles. They stored everything carefully, not out of mercy, not out of curiosity, out of caution. They had faced extinction and had survived. They knew that in the galaxy, the true predator was not always the strongest. It was the one who refused to die. For the first time in millions of years, a species had ended the apex predator, and the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. Final thought. The Vrathkai had thought themselves eternal. They had thought themselves unstoppable. But humans had learned, adapted, and hunted them to extinction. And the universe had learned a new truth. Never underestimate what humanity can do when survival is on the line. The Vrathkai were gone. Not defeated in the usual sense. Not scattered or driven away. They were completely extinct. Humanity had done what no species had ever done before. They had faced a predator that had never known fear, that had devoured entire worlds, and they had survived. More than survived. They had won. And in doing so, humanity had claimed a place at the top of the galaxy. The Galactic Council convened emergency sessions. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in shock. They debated how to approach humanity now. Some feared them. Some wanted to negotiate. Some quietly began preparing for a war they hoped would never come. Humans did not celebrate loudly. There were no parades. There were no songs. Millions of lives had been lost in the fight. Cities on Earth and Mars lay in ruins. Scientists and soldiers alike carried scars that would never heal. But humanity did something unusual. They remembered. They recorded every battle, every tactic, every victory, and every mistake. They stored Vrathkai technology and biological data in secure facilities. They studied it not to glorify their victory, but to understand. Because they knew one truth. The galaxy was dangerous, and the predators they had destroyed were only one threat among many. In the weeks that followed, humanity rebuilt. Cities rose again from the rubble. Starships were repaired, upgraded, and tested. New fleets were designed, not just for defense, but for exploration, for rapid response, and if necessary, for preemptive strikes. Other species watched closely. Some sent ambassadors. Others sent spies. They had seen the humans in battle. They had seen what humans were willing to do, and how far humans could go when survival demanded it. And a quiet fear spread among them. Humans had demonstrated something that no other species had shown in millions of years: the ability to learn faster than evolution itself. Where predators evolved over generations, humans could evolve in weeks, in hours, in the heat of combat. The galaxy began to shift its view of humanity. Trade agreements, once negotiated as equals, became cautious. Borders were redrawn. Military doctrines across star systems were rewritten with one simple principle: assume humans are apex predators. On Earth, memorials were built, not for victory, but for the cost. Statues of soldiers, scientists, and civilians who had died stood beside monuments remembering the Vrathkai. Humanity did not mourn only its own dead. They also marked the extinction of a species that had once been unstoppable. The victory left humans with a strange awareness. They were now the species every other species would fear. But humans were also aware that being apex predator carried responsibility. They understood that power without wisdom could destroy not only themselves but the galaxy around them. And yet, there was a quiet pride in knowing one truth. When faced with extinction, humanity did not crumble. They did not beg. They did not run. They fought. They adapted. They survived. For generations, the story of the Vrathkai would be taught in every school, not to glorify violence, but to teach a lesson that no matter how strong the enemy, no matter how unstoppable they seem, humanity refuses to die. The galaxy once trembled at the name of the Vrathkai. They were the ultimate hunters. But now, in quiet and unyielding determination, humans had claimed the title of apex predator. And somewhere, in the silent depths of space, the last echoes of the Vrathkai's existence faded. The galaxy had changed forever. Humans looked up at the stars and understood one thing clearly. Survival was no longer enough. They were the apex now, and the universe would never forget it. Final line. The predators of the past had fallen. The predators of the future would beware. Humanity had learned the ultimate truth. In a universe that hunts and kills, the strongest is not always the fastest, the largest, or the most deadly, but the one who refuses to be defeated.